To DDRC members, staff, and guests, we ask for your patience during this virtual meeting. Multiple staff members are behind the scenes to make sure that the meeting runs smoothly and all applicants and citizens are able to communicate with the commission at the appropriate times. During the meeting, you will see live images or still images of DDRC members and staff. However, images of the applicant and the public will not be visible.
The public will also be able to participate via 3 methods. When participating, please provide your name for documentation purposes. So you can watch, email, phone, or log into the web session. If you're watching, you can access City TV at www.youtube.com/user/Columbia SC Government. If you're emailing, you can submit letters or statements to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov leading up to and or during the meeting, since we'll be monitoring this account. All emails or letters will be read into the record. You can participate via phone by calling 855-925-2801, and when prompted, please enter the meeting code 5651. If you're calling in, you'll receive 3 options on how to participate. *1 will allow you to listen. *2 will allow you to record a voicemail message that will be read into the record. *3 will allow a participant to be placed in a queue so that they may speak live when prompted. If you're calling in, please make sure your computer audio is muted so that we don't get feedback. And if you're streaming, you can do that at publicinput.com/COC-DDRC-March. So I will call the roll. Mr. Baker. And everybody, just a reminder, you may need to unmute. Mr. Baker. Mr. Broom.
I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Broom. Mr. Dinkins.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Fuller-Wilt.
Here.
Ms. Jaco.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Salibi.
Here.
Mr. Savory.
Here.
And Mr. Wolf.
Here.
We have quorum.
In order to avoid ex parte communications, DDRC members are under strict instructions not to discuss cases under consideration with the public or with each other outside of the public forum. The meeting typically starts with staff calling the case, giving a summary of the project, and then calling on the applicant to present if they wish. Decisions are typically made in one evening. Decisions may be appealed within 30 days to a court of competent jurisdiction. Oaths will be administered individually as we hear either from applicants or from live speakers. Applicants with requests before the DDRC are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding their request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the DDRC or staff regarding request. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. Applicants may have 5 minutes to respond. Staff has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. Are there any changes to the agenda?
We've had one change to the agenda under the historic regular agenda. The vacant lot adjacent to 2225 Rembert Street, which is a request for a certificate of design approval for site improvements, appeal to a staff decision in Elmwood Park Architectural Conservation District has been deferred till next month.
Okay. The DDRC uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. If a member of the DDRC or the general public wants to discuss an item on the consent agenda that item is removed from the agenda and considered during the meeting. The DDRC then approves the remaining consent agenda items. Will staff please read the consent agenda?
Certainly. The first item is 310 Laurel Hill Lane. It's a request for design approval for new construction in the Earlwood Protection Area A. The next item is 415 Hardin Street, a request for design approval for an addition and site improvements for an individual landmark. And the final item is 1420 Woodrow Street, a request for design approval for an addition and new construction of an accessory structure and request for preliminary certification for the Baileydale in the Melrose Heights, Oakland Architectural Conservation District.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the DDRC that would like any item removed from the consent agenda? Is there anyone from the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Please communicate by sending an email to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov or communicate via phone by pressing *2 to leave a voicemail or *3 to speak in person. We will pause a moment to allow any communication from the public.
We have no emails regarding the consent agenda.
Okay. Not hearing any comments from the public or the commission. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda and the February minutes?
So moved. Second.
Move for a vote.
Mr. Baker? Mr. Broom?
Yeah.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Ms. Jaco?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Salibi?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. We'll move on to the regular agenda, please.
Happy people.
The first case on the regular agenda is 3452 North Main Street. This is a request for certificate of design approval for new construction in the North Main Corridor Overlay District. The proposal is for a new office building on the parcel of the historic stone manufacturing building. The changes to the existing building will come before the DDRC at a later date for Baileydale approval as the National Register property. While the new building is being reviewed for state historic tax credits due to its location on the same parcel as the existing historic building, the new construction is being reviewed per the North Main Corridor design guidelines. As it is not within a city designated historic district or classified as an individual city designated landmark property. The North Main Corridor overlay requires setbacks of 5-foot minimum to 15-foot maximum. The National Park Service review for historic tax credits requires that the building be set back from the street much farther as to not to obscure the view of the historic building to the north. The Board of Zoning Appeals granted a variance for the required setbacks. Staff supports the increased setback with the condition that parking not be located between the building and the sidewalk to emphasize pedestrian orientation of the building. And also as a note, this will come before the Planning Commission in April for their site plan review. So that'll be reviewed for some of the other aspects of site plan review. So overall, the project does meet the design guidelines, and staff recommends approval of the request with details deferred to staff. And the architect, Josh Bucher is here from Lambert Architects to answer any questions if you guys have them.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Lucinda. Any questions or comments from DDRC commissioners? We encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending letters and emails at cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. or on the web at publicinput.com/COCDDRC-March. For those wanting to leave a voicemail or speak live, call 855-925-2801. And when prompted, please enter the meeting code 5651, then press *2 to begin leaving the voicemail. If you would like to speak live, press *3. Please be sure that your computer audio is off to avoid feedback. We will now hear comments that have been received in writing.
We have no emails regarding this project.
Okay, any voicemails received? Okay, nothing has been received.
No, we do not have any voicemails that are received, and we currently do not have anyone in the queue to speak.
Does the applicant or I think the architect who's present wish to speak or provide any information? Doesn't sound like we have any questions.
Easy one.
All right. Then I'll move. Do I have a motion?
I move to grant the request for a certificate of design approval for new construction at 3452 North Main Street with details deferred to staff. This takes into consideration the application materials that we were provided and the North Main Corridor design guidelines.
Great. Second, great.
Mr. Baker? Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Ms. Jaco?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Salibi?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood?
Yes.
The motion passes. Okay. And our next item on the agenda, here we go, is a recommendation to amend section 17-674 of the Columbia Code of Ordinances to amend D, criteria for review of design of structures and sites. This is a proposal sponsored by Councilman Duvall. And the language for this would fall as it shows on your screen. There's an existing passage under 1C of this area that reads, for individual landmarks in the landmark district, each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or architectural elements from other buildings, shall not be undertaken. The new language added on to this is in blue on your screen and reads, an opening and its configuration, which have gained historic significance in their own right, may be replicated in an opening on the same elevation of a given structure where the existing configuration is not original, maintaining the dimensions of the historic opening. And staff is recommending for approval.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Is there anyone present to actually discuss this?
I don't believe we have any
Okay.
people present, so I will do my best to answer any questions if they arise.
Okay. Open it up to DDRC commissioners for comments. We encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending in letters and emails to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov or on the web at publicinput.com/cocddrc-March. For those wanting to leave a voicemail or speak live, call 855-925-2801. When prompted, please enter the meeting code 5651. Then press *2 to begin leaving the voicemail. If you would like to speak live, press *3. Please be sure your audio is muted to avoid feedback. We will now hear any comments that have been received in writing.
We have no emails at this moment.
Okay, and I've got no voicemails or calls as well.
Likewise, we do not have a voicemail, and we do not have anyone on the call.
All right, we'll turn back. Any follow-up from any commissioners? Not, do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the newly proposed language, which would amend section 17-674 D1C of the Columbia Code of Ordinances to state the following: an opening in its configuration which have gained historic significance in their own right may be replicated in an opening on the same elevation of a given structure where the existing configuration is not original, maintaining the dimensions of the historic opening.
I'll second that.
And if staff may insert, I neglected to mention to y'all that this is a recommendation from DDRC, and the language will be going forward to council. They're the ones who will finally approve this. So if y'all could just make this a recommendation for approval of the language, that would be helpful.
Do we need to amend how the motion was made or change the wording?
I think if you can just amend to make that a recommendation for approval. That's typically how we phrase these.
Okay. Let me ask, I know Commissioner Johnson made the motion. Can you just make that clarification for us, please?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I apologize.
Sorry, it's all right.
Okay. So I move to recommend to City Council that the newly proposed language amending section 1764 D1C of the Columbia Code of Ordinances be changed to state that an opening in its configuration which have gained historic significance in their own right may be replicated in an opening on the same elevation of a given structure where the existing configuration is not original, maintaining the dimensions of the historic opening.
And I will maintain my second.
Thank you. All right, move for vote.
Thank you. Mr. Baker? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yeah.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Ms. Jaco?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Salibi?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other business on the agenda?
There is no other business tonight.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
World record.
All right. Yeah, I thought I was fast.
Yeah.
Ah.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion on the motion. All right, I think we are adjourned then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.